This is how you can guarantee consistent profitability in 6 months or less. And unfortunately, it does kind of suck. It is a bit boring and it takes a lot of work, but it works better than anything else I've ever tried, not just for me, but also the dozens of other traders that have gone through this system. So in this training, we're going to cover first the foundations of success, which will then lead us into fragile versus anti-fragile trading strategies. And then we'll cover the scientific method and how to apply it to trading, going through the data reality check, the refinement loop, the consistency problem, and then finally the psychology gap. So first, the easiest way to succeed in trading is just to avoid failure. And there's only 2 ways to fail. You either lose too big, which is just caused through poor or no risk management, yet mainly due to emotional trading, trying to take a shortcut or revenge trade or anything like that, and just ignoring your risk rules. And this can be easily fixed. You just use simple risk management, 1% per day, 1 or 2 trades per day, and always use a stop loss. And then this problem is solved. Easy. But that then leaves us with the bigger problem, which is losing too often. And this is caused by not having an edge. And so you're losing too often in relation to your risk reward, and that is resulting in a negative expectancy. And so let's go through exactly what an edge is and how to find one. An edge is just another word for positive expectancy, which is the combination of your risk reward and your win rate. So with a 1-to-1 risk reward, where the break even is a 50% win rate, if you just had a 60% win rate, you'd be profitable. Simple, right? And so there are 2 ways that people try to get an edge. And so first off, this is the option that most people choose, which is that they try to find an edge. They hope to stumble across something that works, and the methods for this are watching YouTube, copying other traders, and jumping between systems and strategies. And I did this exact thing. But unfortunately, this doesn't really work. You can't find an edge. It's a fragile approach. I literally wasted 2 years watching hundreds of YouTube videos, learning more, but not getting any better. And this simply fails because it doesn't rely on skill. It simply relies on luck. It doesn't build any understanding of why it works, because knowledge and understanding are 2 different things. Every single loss destroys confidence, leads to you thinking the strategy doesn't work and hopping to a different one. And you can't ever adapt or diagnose issues in your trading. It's simply fragile because every time you lose, it proves that the strategy is worse. That string of losses will destroy your confidence, and your performance solely depends on luck and not skill. There's no ability to learn and get better over time, because every time something bad happens, you just switch to a new and different strategy. And so the concept of fragile versus anti-fragile is simply that a fragile approach, when things go wrong, it gets worse. A anti-fragile approach is that when things go wrong, it actually gets better. And so the better way to find an edge is to build it. A profitable trading system can't be found. It has to be built through experience and data, because you're not just learning and collecting knowledge, you're actually building understanding. It's okay to watch YouTube videos, but it's important to test these ideas using a scientific method, collecting data, and creating a clear connection between inputs and outputs. For example, if I have a hypothesis that trading at a certain time, trading using a certain model, will lead to me increasing my win rate, or I can then go take a lot of trades, collect data, and then measure if that actually improves my trading results or not. And then I can adjust and improve in the future. Think of your trading plan as a hypothesis and your trading journal as how you test and measure and then adjust that hypothesis. And the reason why this works so well is you actually get to understand why something works. You can tell a kid that the stove is hot. They know it's hot, but they don't know why they shouldn't touch it. When they go put their hand on the stove and then they scream, "Ah!" Take the hand away, it's burning, and they feel this pain. And you can see that knowledge turn into understanding in an instant. And this might be one of the reasons why you don't follow your rules, because you don't have that understanding. You don't know why you should be following your rules because they're just from someone else. And so this approach is anti-fragile because it's relying on data collection. Losses just mean more data, which means more refinement and more improvement. Every loss improves your clarity on exactly what not to do. And you actually understand the probabilities, so you can actually think in probabilities. And so the anti-fragile principle in this method is that when you lose, you get better. You learn what doesn't work, so you can avoid that in the future and just do more of what works. So how do we build an edge through data and probabilities? So first off, you just need a trading journal. In the link in the description below, in the free Discord, there's access to my personal trading journal that I use every single day. But we'll start off with a basic probability example. If you have a 50% win rate and a 1-to-1 risk reward, that is a break-even strategy. And so here's how to become profitable just using these basic probabilities. Just start simple. Use one random strategy. It doesn't really matter what. The important thing is though, is that you stick to it and it's simple, and then use a fixed risk reward. Only stick to 1-to-1 risk reward. And as well, you're not allowed to manage your trades. You're setting and forgetting. Every time you enter, set your stop loss, set your take profit, and then let go. Close the screen, go play Minecraft, Clash Royale, doesn't matter, but don't watch the screen. And then you're going to do that 300 times. A simple strategy, fixed risk to reward, no trade management, and you're going to collect 300 trades, and then you're going to journal those 300 trades. And this is the part that fucking sucks. It is tedious, it is boring. But if you truly want to become profitable, then this will guarantee you the success that you want. And so once you've collected those 300 trades, there will be 3 possible outcomes. First off, you can either have a losing strategy, a less than 50% win rate. You can stay at break even with a 50% win rate, or you can have a greater than 50% win rate, a winning strategy by the end of those 300 trades. And the thing is, regardless of what happens, you will still end, even if you lose, with a profitable strategy. I'll show you how. So in this scenario that you have a less than 50% win rate, a losing strategy, the main action you want to do here, the main action for you to take is to reverse engineer why it's losing. So you can then do the opposite, flip that strategy and become profitable. It seems pretty simple. If you have a 30% win rate and you just do the opposite of that approach, you will then have a 70% win rate. But you can only do this if you're tracking your data properly. For example, this is one of the variables in my trading strategy. And this concept is just basically tracking if I'm buying into a low time frame high or selling into a low time frame low. And I know through my data with this one concept, I have around a 40% win rate. Amazing. What if I did the opposite of that? Okay, so what if I'm buying into a low or selling into a high? I flip that on its head. Instead of a 40% win rate, I actually have an 89% win rate. And that's just a simple approach that you can use to become a profitable trader. Doing the opposite of what was giving you shit results will give you good results. And I do track a lot of different variables in my trading because I know how important it is, and it takes time to build up this data and to get good at journaling your trades. So be patient. And so if you have a losing strategy, it doesn't really matter because you'll be able to learn why that happens so you can then do the opposite and get the opposite results. Having a bad thing happen and knowing why it happened is better than having an amazing thing happen and not knowing why, because it's not repeatable. And so then let's go over the scenario where you end at break even. So you can use a very similar approach to the previous scenario, but instead of reverse engineering, we're going to analyze and find ways to improve the strategy. And so the first way to improve your strategy is just to analyze and find if you could increase your risk reward. Because if you just win a little bit bigger on average, well, then you don't need to win more and you'll be a profitable trader with that 50% win rate. And the way you can do this is by tracking 2 things. These 2 variables are called maximum adverse excursion and maximum favorable excursion. This simply means when you take an entry and you have a stop loss, you have a take profit. Maximum adverse excursion is just tracking how far price went towards your stop loss before going in your favor. And so in this example, we can see it went around 80% to my stop loss. And so in maximum adverse excursion, MAE, I put negative 0.8. And so tracking this, if this is consistently happening across all my trades, that is an opportunity for me to improve my entries. I'm entering too early. It's going against me before it pushes in my direction. If this is consistently happening, well, then that is a consistent edge. And then for the next thing, maximum favorable excursion, if you close your trade at 1-1 and then it hits a risk reward of 1-5, I will put maximum favorable excursion at 5. If this is consistently higher than 1-1, 1-2, 1-1.5. That is then another opportunity for a consistent edge to improve your strategy. And so the first way to break out of break even is just to win a little bit bigger on average. You don't even have to worry about your win rate. But then going back to the journal, another way to also analyze and break out of that break even phase is just to go through the different variables and find what is increasing or decreasing your win rate. And I'm trading in a counter trend here. I have around a 54% win rate. If I then change that to a trending range condition, I have around a 96% win rate. So it's pretty clear exactly what condition I should be trading in. That's a simple way to increase your win rate and then to break out of that break-even stage. And so then we'll go on to the third scenario, which is that you end with a winning strategy, which is pretty great, pretty simple. You can just continue doing what you are doing, or you can further refine it and improve it by increasing the risk reward or increasing the win rate using the strategies that we previously talked about. And so there's some key things to keep in mind. Please keep a fixed risk reward because it just makes it so much simpler. Stick to one strategy and do not manage your trades. Set and forget. The simpler, the better. Less opportunities for you to fuck up. Okay? And so remember, it is better to lose and know why it happened than to win and don't know why, because you can't repeat what you don't know. And so now let's put this edge into reality. You've gone through those 300 trades, you've collected data, you've refined, and you've got something that you know works. You can then move on to a small prop firm account, either futures or Forex, and then practice that with money on the line. And you're just trying to find one profitable trade, one profitable setup, and then you're just trying to do that consistently. If you just then do that, you're consistently profitable. And then you can prove that you can execute it consistently on that small prop firm account before you scale up into bigger prop firms and then finally start making money and consistent payouts. And so this is where psychological problems arise. But we need to actually define what bad psychology means, because most people get this wrong. Knowing what you're supposed to be doing, but not being able to do it. You have a system, You know the rules, but you still can't execute. Could be impatience, could be revenge trading. That gap is psychology. You right now watching this probably think that this is your problem, but have you gone through the steps that I previously told you about? Have you taken those 200 trades? Do you have a trading journal? Do you clearly know the probabilities of your system? Well, then if you haven't gone through exactly what I've previously talked about, this isn't your issue. You don't have a psychological issue because you actually don't know what the fuck you're trying to do. You haven't done the work required. You think you lack discipline, but you lack clarity over what actually works. And you can only get that clarity through data collection, journaling your trades, and actually putting in the fucking work. The easiest way to get what you want in trading and in life is just to deserve it. And so all mistakes in trading only come from two possible sources. Every trading mistake is either a system mistake, you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, so it's just random, or a focus mistake where you know what you're supposed to be doing, but you just can't do it. And so what if you've actually put in the work? You've done all the steps that I've said, you've collected the data, you have the trading plan, but you still can't execute. It's simply due to your focus and your attention. When you shift your attention from the process to the outcome, that is when you make mistakes. But we'll go through exactly how to fix that. How can we focus on the process? How can we execute what we know we should be doing and just let the system and the process take care of itself? The most important resource you have in life isn't money, isn't time, it is your attention and your focus. Because it doesn't matter how much fucking time you have if you can't control what you give your focus to. You'll just waste that time. And so the best way to improve your focus and your control over your attention, and this isn't some hack or some knowledge that you can just learn and instantly fix, it is a practice exercise you have to do every single day. And what I'm talking about is meditation. Meditation is simply the act of controlling your focus, your attention. And so another reason people tend to focus on the outcome and try to control it is simply because they're attached to the outcome. They think it matters. But when you're journaling your trades, you're collecting data, every loss is a net gain. It's another data point to avoid a future loss. You just get better the more you lose. And so because of that, if you win, it's positive. If you lose, it's positive. You either win money or win an opportunity to learn. And so it is so much easier to focus on the process when regardless of what happens, it's going to be a net gain. That is why journaling and collecting data, building a system is so important. And so this is what most people go through. Their focus starts off really well. It's completely on the process. They have that demo mindset. It's 100% clean execution. They don't fucking care about the money because there is no money. But as soon as they switch onto a small live or a small prop firm account, emotions start creeping in. Trading starts feeling harder. They don't know why. It's simply because you're now working with less brain power. When you're on a demo account, you're working with 100% of your brain power. But now you're moving on to a live account where half the time you're focused on the process and trying to take a winning trade. So you've kind of made yourself actively retarded. And especially when there's big risk or there's big attachment to the outcome, 100% of your focus, of your brain power shifts to the outcome. That is when you'll make the biggest mistakes because chasing results makes you irrational, makes you sabotage yourself because it's pretty easy to talk to a normal girl, someone you have no romantic interest in. But as soon as some perfect 10 out of 10 girl comes up to you, you freeze, you stutter, and you probably start talking about Clash Royale. And the reason why this happens is because you're focused on that outcome. You don't want to fuck up. By trying to avoid fucking up, you fuck up, okay? Another example, let's say you're going for the gold medal in archery. You've got your bowstring pulled back, you're trying to hit a bullseye on the target so you can win that gold medal. But instead of focusing on the target, you're focused on the gold medal because that's what you want so badly. Obviously, you're probably not going to fucking hit the target. So it is extremely important to be aware of where you're putting your focus and your attention. And so now that you understand how mistakes happen, you understand how to fix these mistakes, which is having a clear system and being able to control your focus. That's it. Just focus on that. Everything else is noise. There'll still be some anxiety, some fear around, what if I still get bad results? What if I still end up a loser? But the feedback loop will fix all outcomes. What we previously talked about, if you journal properly, every loss becomes a lesson, patterns become measurable, and you find out what actions to take to get the outcomes you want. It's literally impossible to lose when you have a positive feedback loop. And so now that we've covered all this in detail, now it's time for you to take action because success in trading and in life comes from action, not intelligence and not knowledge. You will try to avoid, to save your ego, to try to save your identity of a smart person who succeeds. But the only way to succeed is to fail first, and then to understand why that failure happens so you can then avoid it in the future. Most of the traders that I found became profitable, they were the ones that were the most willing to fail. Because if you fail for the next year, and then you become profitable the year after. Doesn't matter that you failed. You still got what you wanted. If you try to avoid failure, and then that leads to you to never becoming profitable because you never took action and did the work required to get the results you wanted, where would that leave you? Because failing isn't a bug. It's not an obstacle. It is the path. And just do so much work that it would be unreasonable to not get what you want. Just simply deserve what you want and you will get it. The success you want in trading is simply on the other side of the work you're avoiding. So just get that fucking work done, get it out of the way, and you finally get all the results that you want. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to watch a full guide on exactly how I trade, this video covers my complete strategy, step by step, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.